In this video, we'll use Revit 2026 to create a protective wall reinforcement detailing model for a river intake structure. We'll walk through project setup, structural modeling from existing drawings as seen on screen, reinforcement creation, tagging, and finally producing documentation-ready sheets. Let's get started. From the left-hand side here, we have the protective wall base plan. So if we zoom at it, you'll notice that we already have been provided with the required dimensions. Going from bottom going up, we have a distance of 1000, then 300 for the wall thickness, then 1000. Our units are in millimeters. So the slab will come here, and to this point here, it will go in at a distance of 400, then go up at a distance of 4800 up to this point here, and it will then go out and it will follow here up to here, then this way back to the start point. We have details for our walls here. This is wall 8 and this other is wall 9. Wall 10 represents the cutoff beam. This other wall has also been detailed as wall 8. If you look from the section here, these dimensions will help us to determine our levels. From here, we notice that the top of wall is at a distance of 3070 from the slab. We'll input 3070 as our top of wall level. Our slab has a thickness of 300, and 300 plus 600 gives a total height of 900. That will be our beam height. So also from this side, we have the wall 9 section, and the top of wall is also at 3070. Beside here, you can see the total height is 900, which we shall use while designing the beam. If I span here, below, we have the typical section through weir body. This we shall provide it in the upcoming videos. And below here, we have the key plan for site. Our protective wall will be here, then the weir body, and finally the intake chamber. This design is for a river intake project. So from here, from the intake chamber, we'll have pipes leading to the sedimentation chamber, where sediments settle before the water is channeled through the large pipes for the irrigation scheme. From here, you notice that the pipe has a diameter of 700. We shall discuss this in the upcoming videos. If you go to the next PDF here, we have the intake base plan details, and this part we shall design in the upcoming videos through this tutorial. The next document here contains an image that I had rendered. So we have here the protective wall, then the weir body, and here is where we shall have the intake chamber. If I go and open the last document here, notice that we have our reinforcement details, and we shall use this to guide us while placing our rebars in the next video. Let's get started. To start a new project, I'll go to here, then select new from models. I will drop, then select the structural analysis default metric template file. If you cannot find it here from the list, you can use the browse, then go to your English template folder, and you can select the structural analysis default metric from here. Then hit open. I will press OK to open the new project. In case you are watching this channel for the first time, kindly take a second or two, hit the subscribe button, so that when I produce a video like this, YouTube will automatically notify you. And to the subscribers, I'd like to thank you all for the continued support. because without that support, this channel cannot be where it is. Once the new drawing has been opened, we can go to an elevation so as to establish our levels. From this elevation here, we have the ground level, which is at 0. I will click once on level 1, then change it to ground. I'll input here ground level. So this one is ground level. The next one here, I will click once, then click once again, and we can name here as the top of wall. Then I'll press enter. So to create a new level, you can go to the architecture tab, then under datum, we have level and grid. You can also go to the structure tab, then under datum, we have level and grid. So I can pick on level from here. Then now, from this extension of ground level, we need to set 300 for the bottom of slab. I'll then snap it here at the horizontal and extension. Next, we'll need the 600 for the bottom of beam or the foundation level now. I'll press escape, and we can change the scale from here for this view to 1:25. I'll set the detail to fine and graphics to wireframe. So now that we have created the level 3 and 4, notice that they are not visible under the structural plans. So before we create them, we can rename them first. So I'll zoom at level 4, select level 4, then click once, and now we can start to rename from 01 foundation level. I'll select level 3, click once, and then I can rename it to 02. Can now call it slab base. For this one now, I will rename it with starting with the number in the front. So 03 for the ground level, and notice that when we change here, it automatically updates from the name automatically updates here. So finally, we can change the name here from top of wall. I will highlight, then set to 04, top of wall. With our levels renamed, I can now go to the view tab. I'll press escape to exit out of the level command. And then under plan views, you can select structural plan. I will select the foundation and base slab level, then press OK to create the structural plans within the views. So if we press OK, we now have 01 and 02 here. So with our levels in place, the next step is to set up our grids. So for that, we can briefly switch back to the PDF so as to confirm our dimensions. Back in the PDF, we have here the protective wall base plan. We're going to start with the vertical grids first. So going this way, we see that we have a distance of 400, then 400, then 600, then 300, then 1000. This other side, we have a distance of 1000, then 300, then 1000, then 4800, then 1000, then 300, then 1000. So we are going to input our grids as per these dimensions. I'll go to my ground level, or you can open any structural plan view. So from the ground level, I'll go to the structure tab, then I'll select grid. Now we need to set up our grids, and we can start from this point here. I'll click here up to this point here. Now going up, the next grid value here was at 1000 up to this endpoint here. The next grid point was at a distance of 300 up to this point here. The next grid line was at a distance of 1000 up to this point here, the extension and horizontal. The next grid was at a distance of 4800. I will go up to the extension and horizontal here. Then the next grid line was at a distance of 1000. The next grid was at a distance of 300. Then finally the last grid was at a distance of 1000. I will press escape. Now I can change the scale from here to 1:25. I'll change the detail to fine and the graphics to wireframe. We can now place the other grids. I'll select grid. Then now I can start from this point here, going down up to somewhere here. I'll press escape twice. And if we zoom, notice that we are at 9. If you need to change this from numbers to letters, click at the grid letter here once, then change to A and click enter. So the next grid will be automatically set at B. So going this way, the next grid line was at a distance of 400. So we'll input here 400 up to the extension here. The next grid was at a distance of 400 again, up to the endpoint here. The next grid was at a distance of 600, up to the extension here, back again. The next grid line was at a distance of 300. And finally, the last grid was at a distance of 1000, up to this endpoint here. I'll press escape to exit the grid command. We can now highlight on any grid, any of these grids, then use this grip to adjust the length of the grids. Now with our levels and grids in place, the next step is to now place our structural elements. But before that, we can go to the east elevation and ensure that your grids and levels, like for example here, if these are the grids, ensure that they cut beyond the last level here. So for example, this one has been set correctly. Notice what will happen if we change this endpoint. So I'll select the endpoint, then move it here. Now if we go to our ground level, notice that we don't have those sets of grids. This is because they do not intersect with the levels. So I will select them again, highlight and select, and make sure that your grids extend below the levels like this. Now if we go back to our ground level, we'll have both sets of grids. So to place our structural members, we'll go to the structure tab. Then I'll first start by placing the slab. Under the foundation, select structural foundation slab. From here, because our slab had a thickness of 300, we can go to the properties, then select the 300 millimeter foundation slab. We can now go to draw and pick the line command. Now we can start to sketch our slab from this intersection here. We can go up to this point here. Next, we go up to this grid intersection here. The next point up to here. Then up to 4. We go in 400. Then we go up at a distance of 4,800 up to this grid here. Next, we go out up to here. Then we tie it back to the start point here. You can now hit finish, but before that, ensure that your span direction is at the shorter span of your slab. Like for example, now this slab, notice that the dimensions from this point to this point is shorter than the dimension of this edge to this edge. So we set the span direction to the shorter slab. Now we'll press finish. If we now go to the east elevation, we have our slab here. I will open the 3D view. And from this view, I will pick on one level, then I'll pick one grid, right click, hide in view by category. I can now change the display to realistic, and we have our slab here. So with our slab in place, we can go back to our ground level, and now we can place our beam. I will select the span symbol, right click, hide in view, elements. To place the beam, we're going to go to structure tab, then select beam. From here, I'll drop, then select any concrete rectangular beam. We can go to edit type, and to create our new beam, we'll first need to duplicate this type. So we'll name our beam 400 by 900 millimeter. Then press OK. For here, we'll change to 400, and the height we are going to set to 900. I'll hit apply, then OK. So our beam will be in between these grids here. So grid B and C. The distance was 400, which was the beam thickness. So we'll need to start our beam at the midpoint or at 200 from here, because 200 is the midpoint of these two grids. So from there, we're going to place the endpoint at this other face here for grid number 2. So we're going to place the endpoint here. I'll press escape. And if you go to the 3D view, we have our beam detailed here. So here is the beam. So next, we'll go to the ground level, and now we can place our structural walls. To place the walls, we can go to wall here, then select wall structural. I will drop from the properties, then select retaining 300 millimeter concrete. Make sure that we are working under height from here, and we can set our top constraint to the top of wall level. For the location line, I'll drop, then select finish face interior. Now to draw the walls, we can start from this point here up to this point here. Then we can go down up to this grid intersection here at 3. Then finally we finish the wall here. I'll press escape to exit. If you go to the 3D view, Notice that we have now our beam, slab, and structural walls. So this has been part 1 of this tutorial. In the next video, we are going to start the rebar detailing, starting from the slab, then beam. Then in the third video, we shall detail our walls. And finally, in the fourth video, we are going to discuss about creating tags, schedules, views, and sheets. So this has been part 1. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.